Welcome to Out of the Rubble, the show where, like Nehemiah, straight from the Bible, in 52 days we hope to build in our community greater and stronger connections between our residents. We do that through talking to one another and meeting new people. In this season, it's especially important as we have candidates running as our representatives to steer, like a board of directors, our entire municipal government. Today, we want to introduce you to 8 candidates who are running for our city government. They run for what are called wards throughout our community. There are 6 wards and 1 mayor who sit on our city commission. Everybody votes for all of the candidates. All 7 are voted for by everyone across the community. So it's especially important because we may not know those people who live in other places around our community. Today, we're going to introduce you to the candidates of Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 5, and Ward 6. We look forward to that, and we're going to get started with a lifelong Shawnee resident, a gentleman who's attended most of the schools throughout our community, and he believes he can find more money in our current budget in order to address the needs such as infrastructure and homelessness. Meet Rob Morris.
I was a graduate from 1998, Shawnee High School. I've gone to just about every school in this town, minus Horseman and Wilson. I paged when I was in high school for Brad Henry and for Bob Weaver. I wanted to get into the city commission because after seeing how there's little things that are done improperly around here, is probably the more PC term to use, that if we're willing to do all these little things wrong, what are the big things we do wrong, that we mess up on, whether intentional or unintentional? I will always go after an answer for something I do not understand. I will always get an answer before I vote on things. I think there's been a problem with that where we vote together a lot instead of asking questions for the little guy that doesn't understand what's going on. Short-term goals, I think, is to go back through some of our contracts that we have yearly and find out if we're getting what we're paying for. I found that there's lots of money in this town that we could probably use for roads, for more cops, for a lot of things that we need versus things we might want. And I think that there's a distinction that needs to be made and that I've noticed between wanting things for Shawnee versus what we actually need. And I want to go after the stuff we need. That's a short-term goal that has a whole lot of ramifications to be able to use the money if it's freed up, so that kind of jumps with a lot of things. But long-term goal is the infrastructure of this town. Every winter we have umpteenth number of pipes break because of the frost. It'd be nice if we could get that down to maybe 1 every winter and not have to worry about where our pipes are bad. It would be nice if when we went to revitalize neighborhoods, we did it for the right reasons to help the people in the neighborhood and not just make a shiny space that's good for pictures. As some final things that I would like to address in Shawnee is our homeless population. I do think that's something that's very much needed to address. Walking downtown has been difficult lately, and some people have not shopped downtown because of it. And while I'm very much at using carrot to help out the people in need, I think that Shawnee has been lax on having the stick for the people that are trying to abuse our graces. So with that, that is something that I would like to address quickly.
We always ask for Action Physical Therapy, and we always recommend it to our friends. When we're in the orthopedic doctor's office, they always give us the option, well, you need physical therapy. Do you have a choice of where you want to go? And we always ask for Action because we know Katie and Andy Landys, and we trust the service and the care that we're going to get there.
I asked for Action.
So I grew up a Shawnee kid. I moved here when I was 1. My parents moved here to start a church. I was born in Muskogee, so I guess I'm the Okie from Muskogee the song talks about. When I think about my childhood, probably the two greatest influences on my life were my grandfather on my dad's side and my grandmother on my mom's side. She and I were very close. She grew up a single mom in the 1950s, having lost her husband to a tragic heart attack. And to hear her stories of the Dust Bowl all the way, what it was like to be a single mom then and 3 girls, that perseverance, I think it put something in me that said whatever we face, we're not going to give up. And I think that's probably a real characteristic I see in a lot of people in our community is, tough circumstances, but we're going to bond together and make the best of it. My grandpa was a letter carrier in Cushing and then a Baptist pastor on the side. He ran the food pantry at First Baptist Church in Cushing. He began to share his heart, and it was like something clicked. And so the opportunity came for us to kind of be a part of something amazing here in our town, and to get to be the founder of Community Market, on the team that launched that, and to be able to give back and work here in our community is just a huge blessing, but it's also a huge responsibility. Ultimately, I think my vision for Shawnee is really simple. My family lives here. My wife and I have lived here since we got married. 23 years ago now, as growing our family here. We have 4 children. And ultimately, if you ask me to summarize my vision for Shawnee, it's I want to build a community that my kids want to live in. And I think that takes a holistic approach. I want to honor and keep the DNA of what Shawnee has been and is, because that's what attracted me to this community. And I think that's what excites me most. It's what's inspired me to serve on the City Commission, is because I believe there's so much potential inside our community as a whole, because of the tremendous people. And if I can play a small part in tending to seeing that potential unlock, I think that'll be a great accomplishment.
Daniel Matthews, he was and is the founder of our community market, which serves so many people throughout Potawatomi County, son of a pastor, been in Shawnee since year 1 of his life, and he really would like to see kids growing up in our community want to stay in our community and be able to have opportunity to raise a family right here. Our next candidate, Amy Camerata, is a person who suffered tragedy in our state and grew to love the people of Oklahoma and eventually Shawnee because of the love that they showed for one another through that tragedy, which was a horrific tornado. She's a wife, a mother, and a professional, and she has people in her background, her father and brother, both police officers, which she has been able to experience life with, and makes her feel that she would be a great public servant. Not a politician, but a public servant.
I really came from a pretty idyllic life. I was raised in Waterloo, Iowa, middle-class family, mom, dad, brother, a dog. I came here to Oklahoma in 1997. House was taken in the 99 tornado, the May 3rd, 99 tornado, actually. That was a real introduction to Oklahoma. And then everybody came together. A stranger on the street gave me a phone to use. The churches all pulled together to bring food and, get housing because so many people were affected you couldn't get hotels. And so the people of Oklahoma, through that tragedy, made me love Oklahoma. There's a lot of reasons why. I think that public service is kind of in my DNA. Both my dad and brother were in law enforcement. We have a big family involvement in military. Particularly over the last year, I've had more involvement with the City Commission and what's happening in Shawnee, and it struck a chord with me that residents anywhere in Shawnee need to have more voice and more involvement. Well, it's interesting, the words representing a citizen, because I think that's not only is it one of the main reasons why I want to be a commissioner, I think it's my greatest asset. I'm not a politician. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, I'm a wife, I'm a resident, I'm a professional. I'm a user of Shawnee. I shop here. I bring in sales tax dollars. I go to dinner here. But I don't necessarily have any other motive except for the fact that I want to do best by Shawnee citizens and the city of Shawnee. So I think that's the best qualification that I can give.
Have you seen our signs lately?
5 stars, positive, professional, quality, and responsive.
Everybody that works there are some of the nicest people you will ever meet. I would recommend this place to anyone.
Our associate was professional, courteous, personable, and most important, patient. Kept a positive and encouraging attitude throughout the process.
The crew here is always phenomenal. This broker is kind, friendly, and cares about their customers and employees alike.
Our associate was really awesome at getting things done and truly cares about finding your perfect home. I highly recommend.
Have you seen our signs lately?
I grew up in Sulphur, Oklahoma, and spent my entire childhood in the same house that my grandpa and my dad built. I was really lucky because I was adopted from foster care. My parents both taught at the school for the deaf. We didn't grow up with money, but my parents they both really valued education, and I think that they really helped me become a creative problem solver, which has been instrumental in my life as a business owner most recently, especially. I was a professional musician for a really long time. I was a college professor, and that opened me up to a lot of ideas and just different world perspectives that I can bring to a smaller community. The main thing I'd like to see happen for Shawnee is for us to be able to attract and maintain talent. I would like to continue the work that I've been doing as a commissioner for these few short months and as a private citizen to add value to the town, intrinsic and real monetary value that would make outside investors and local investors see us as a valuable place to invest their money. Some of the ways that we can do that are by improving our quality of life for all of our citizens. So there's some small things that we can change, just like adding sidewalks to make things more walkable. For example, you see those projects coming down the pipeline for different things that have been voted on in the past. And what really gets me going is just thinking about how things could be. Locally, there's so much potential here and there's so much momentum right now. It just makes me really excited to think about being a part of the wave that I feel like we're riding to make Shawnee move forward and improve even more than we have been in the past several years. So.
Cami Ingalls is a sitting commissioner running for Ward 2. Cami replaced outgoing Commissioner Bob Weaver when he moved out of the ward boundaries, so Cami has served for the last number of months. She believes in local and outside investment helping to spur our economy, and Cami should know she's a well-established businesswoman in Shawnee proper and has many investments that have helped our community and our community's economy. Next, we have Joey Ward. Joey Ward is a candidate for Ward 5, and his primary concerns are accessibility. And he promises to be accessible to all residents, to be able to listen to your concerns, and to be able to serve you through the many experiences that he has had through many and a variety of ways in which he has experienced his professional life. Now, I caught Joey on a day in which just before he'd actually had some burns on his face, so please forgive us for that. But next for Ward 5 candidate Joey Ward.
I grew up in California. My mom was from Oklahoma, my dad was from California, so I grew up in Oklahoma and California, consequently, kind of back and forth. I graduated high school when I was 16 years old and went to college at Hillsdale Free Will Baptist College. I met my wife there in my second semester, and a couple years later we got married.
I've been married for 35 years, and we got married in 1987. A couple years later, had our first child. About 6 years ago, she was in her third stage 4 battle with cancer, and the great part of the story is she survived. She's 5 years cancer-free now. I don't believe she'll ever have cancer again. I believe God has done His miracle. Just an average Joe, just a guy that just like anybody else in town. I've done a variety of jobs in my life that I think kind of gives me some perspective on how to look at things as a commissioner. During Desert Storm and my active duty time during that, I was stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas as a law enforcement officer for a year. And so I've got to put the gun on every night and go out and risk my life and do those things. Definitely, when looking at construction projects, things like that, I've flipped houses for years. I was a pipe fitter. I've drove a truck. I've been a pastor. I've just so many things that I've done in life, and so I think it allows me to really get along with a variety of people. As a commissioner, I know that's a lot of what I'm going to be doing, is sitting down and talking about what we're going to be able to do for our community. I literally want to get in there and just be the guy. I'll knock on the door. They'll say, hey, tell me what's going on.
Clinic Pharmacy, conveniently located, open 7 days a week, and the latest technology for accurate prescription fulfillment makes Shawnee sports enthusiast Tim Barrick and his staff at Clinic Pharmacy the brand to trust. Sonic Drive-In originated in Shawnee, serving great food fast to your family. Drive up, order, and eat in your car. Now, more than 3,500 stores worldwide, it's Sonic Good at our local Sonics.
Harrison Discount Pharmacy of Shawnee is a good neighbor pharmacy. Harrison Discount Pharmacy is courteous, with quick turnaround times utilizing the latest technology from a convenient location on the corner of Independence and Harrison. Pickup or home delivery available, locally owned and operated. Harrison Discount Pharmacy of Shawnee.
Thank you to Joey Ward for meeting with us. And next, Alan Rogers is running for Ward 6 commissioners. He is one of 3 candidates running for that ward position. Alan is a lifelong Shawnee resident. He has worked through union policies in his professional career, and he trained for his career right here locally in the GCTC nursing program. Following Alan, we will see Edwina Butler. Edwina Butler Wolf, you may recall as a 3-term governor of one of our local nations here, the Shawnee Absentee Tribe. She is a leader, and a note which I'm sure she's proud of, I certainly would be, in the dynasty known as Dale Girls Basketball. Edwina Butler was one of the teammates on the very first championship team, and we love sports at Shawnee CTV. Edwina, a youngest girl in a family of 8 girls, you know she's going to be tough.
I was born and raised in Shawnee. I was born at the old Shawnee Hospital. Attended 1st and 2nd grade at St. Benedict's Catholic School. After the 2nd grade year, the school closed. So we moved to South Rock Creek. Had a lot of great teachers out there, a lot of great people that are interacted. You know, we was raised by my mother. I have 2 sisters and a brother. My brother was killed in a car wreck in 1981. My mother, she did all the baseball games, all the softball games, the basketball, cheerleading, football, everything. She went to everything and worked 2 jobs at the same time. So my work ethic has been modeled from her. I got to meet the woman I eventually married. We dated since we were sophomores in high school. And this July will be 35 years. After graduating from Tecumseh, I went to Gordon Cooper Votech, become a licensed practical nurse. So I spent next 22 and a half years at the Oklahoma City VA, taking care of veterans. The greatest job I've ever had. Loved it. Loved every minute of taking care of the patients. Learned a lot of leadership skills from various head nurses. I had a really glamorous accident where I hurt my shoulder and had to have surgery. At the same time, there was an interview coming up at St. Gregory's. 2 days later, I get a call back and I meet with the senior counsel, and they informed me at that time I've been hired as the the new healthcare director for St. Gregory's Abbey, and that's where I've been ever since. I need to be running for city council because I think it's time that we get a more conservative voice out there. We start looking at ways to resolve some of the problems that are being brought up. I have been a union steward, so I was used to dealing with management and employees. I hear problems from both sides and was working on creative solutions. I like to be able to talk with people and listen to their problems, and we'll be there together.
I am the youngest of the 8 girls in our family, and my dad, he served in the Army, and then he worked at Tinker Air Force Base. And my mom, she was a homemaker. She stayed at home, obviously, with 8 girls at home. And I grew up and went to school at Dale High School. I graduated from Dale, played basketball. Of course, that's a basketball tradition down there. And I was on the first basketball team in '78 to win state. And I am married. I've got a husband, Leonard, and he's from Shawnee as well, and a son, Josh. And I have a stepdaughter, Christy, and a grandson, Nicholas. I worked at the Tinker Air Force Base for a couple of years. And then of course I had a child at the time. Then I was employed at North Rock Creek School. Stayed there for 15 years and did their Indian education program. And I also coached girls basketball and softball. My son graduated out of high school, then I decided I wanted a career change, so that's when I went to work at the absentee Shawnee tribe as the assistant to the lieutenant governor at the time. So I learned a lot of ropes through the government, my first time being in tribal government. So then I stayed in the tribal government and then ran for an office as an elected governor. So I did 3 terms as the governor of the absentee Shawnee tribe. I feel like I'm a leader, and I want to lead, and lead down a path of all citizens, regardless of who they are, where they live at, what skin color they have. Everybody is equal to me in the city of Shawnee. This is a great city. I love being here. So this is my home.
Hi, I'm Sean at Play It Again Sports, where we pay you cash for your used sporting goods. We have a great deal on this Louisville Slugger RXT. Originally $449.99, now at Play It Again, only $119.99. We also have new gear, like this Wilson Glove of the Month A2K. We are in need of used baseball and softball mitts. We will pay you cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports. We buy and sell new and used sports equipment.
I'm from Shawnee. I was born and raised here. I like to have a story for my son when he grows up because he was born by the same doctor and by the same hospital. I went to Shawnee High School and graduated from there in 2007. My dad graduated from Shawnee High School. I like Shawnee. I like driving around town and seeing things as an adult that I saw. I like driving around town and remembering as it was and having that emotional connection and investment in the community. 4 years ago, I ran on like a feeling that I had inside, but I don't believe that I had the qualities to provide great representation. It's only been 4 years, but in my career, I've grown as a professional. I've grown as a person who stands on beliefs and will fight for what I believe in, for who I believe in. And I think I'm at a point now where I can represent in a positive way and be transparent at the same time. I feel like I'm a fairly honest person from the get-go. I don't think anybody has to worry about whether I'm speaking the truth or not. I won't ever try to presume or make people believe that I know something that I don't. I try to be honest. If I don't know something, I will be honest and I will go and find it out. I feel connected to my community in my little bubble that I live in my ward, but I also feel connections that need to be fostered and developed in other areas of the city. I want to keep the small town feel. That's what I like about Shawnee is it feels like a small town, and then I remember that we have 30-something thousand people here and it doesn't feel like that, but it is. I like to see Shawnee be somewhere that people know as safe and welcoming and fun, and that we're not just a blip on the map, a flyover or a drive through town.
And that was our final candidate, Lauren Richter, a mom, a lifelong Shawnee resident, a graduate of Shawnee High School, as was her father, born in the same hospital as her child. Just a wonderful story, easy to talk to, a mom and a teacher right here in our community. So that's all 8 of our candidates running for our municipal government. And we certainly appreciate all of them meeting with us. One was unable to make that. There's actually a total of 9 candidates in the community. We introduce you to 8 of them, and we want to encourage everyone to get out and vote. It's when we vote that we can make a difference. Every single vote matters. Municipal elections, as are all elections across our wonderful country, are usually determined by 10% or less of the people. In our community, let's get 6,000 people out and vote. That would be about 20% of our community. That's the goal that we should have as a next step towards full engagement in our community elections, which I feel here in Out of the Rubble is the most important elections that you can participate in. Get out and vote. Our representation right here in our 5-mile radius is coming up. And go back, look at all of the candidates, take your choices, but you get to vote for every single ward that's up for election. Thank you for being with us, and remember, all of us together, we build community one season at a time.